But I am a firm believer of sphere of influence. There is such thing in art, there is such thing in fashion, and there is such thing in music and so on. Okay. I'm not saying to you that they're absolutely pure creativity. I'm not saying that. But we all somewhat uh in a realm of influence, you know, of counter influencing something. That's what gives birth to something. Does that make sense?
Bernie,
Yeah.
so great to talk to you.
Same, likewise. It's a
Yeah.
pleasure.
So where are you based, Bernie?
I am based in Indiana,
Okay.
Evansville, Indiana, or the state of Indiana, which is right in the middle of that's what we call it, the Midwest. So
Oh, I see. Right in the middle. I've never been to the US.
not yet,
No, I must be
really.
the only person in the world that's not been to the US.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's. I would have said that you've been at least to New York or some of those big states, you know?
No, not. But were you born and raised there?
No, no. I was born on the island of Haiti,
Yeah.
in the Caribbean, and then we moved. Well, my parents moved way before me, and
Mm.
then later on, they sent for us, me and my sister, and moved to Brooklyn, New York. It was quite a shock
I
at
can
the time.
imagine. I can absolutely imagine.
Yeah.
And
W-
so, were you a child? I mean, Haiti, I can imagine, were you more sort of a nature child? Was it more free there?
Oh my gosh, yes. And a lot of oftentimes I look back, I realize how much we have given up in order to sustain ourselves in this life pursuit. Does that make sense? And at the time,
Absolutely.
yeah, it wasn't my choice. It's not so much of you as a person's choice. It's your parents making choices for you. And the only thing we could do at the time is follow through to what they demanded of you, you know? And that's how I found myself also in Indiana because my dad didn't like much the lifestyle of being in New York at the time. And now that I have a son, oh, I have two sons, and I can see why he did that, because the lifestyle in the Midwest is completely the opposite of the lifestyle, especially in Brooklyn, New York. It's two different cycle of a lifestyle I will describe,
I
so
think, yeah, I think as parents, you make decisions because you think it's going to be better for the family or better for the children. And then sometimes you think children need so little that
yeah,
they sort of like the freedom and or like maybe not what the parents think they want or they deserve.
absolutely, absolutely. And you know, you come to a point in your life where you're like, you know whatever, dad, whatever, mom,
Yeah.
you know, you come to realize that, whatever you did, okay, I'm good, bye, thank you very much. You shake their hand, you have to make peace with it. Otherwise, you can go to a cycle of psychoanalyzing everything that occur. And to me, it's not healthy, maybe for somebody else, and I kind of pack up my bag and say, you know what, let's do it. Let's go through. And so that's why for me, it's very easy for me to pack up my bag and go places. It's really easy for me. People will say, "Oh, how'd you do it? How'd you go to Africa? How'd you go to Europe? How'd you go to Asia? Were you scared?" Da, 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 da. To me, it's normal. It's
Yeah.
really normal. I don't have what they call a sort of like an attachment to not wanting to go any part of the world or engaging into that part of the world where I feel um I have to look myself in the mirror to doubt what I'm gonna see. Does that make sense? I have a mind of very the curiosity of it alone
Yeah.
drive me, because as a child from Brooklyn to New York, from New York to Indiana, they
Mm.
are different part of my life that literally shaped me, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I see with my children, we moved from South Africa to England and in England, we moved also from the countryside to closer to London and then again to Vienna. And it's almost as if they are so resilient to change and they're so open to, new environments. And I'm also just, I mean, I did it as an adult, but I'm sort of, if I have to be somewhere else, I'm just like, bring it on. I can survive. I
I
did
can
all
survive.
these.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Your mindset is not
Yeah,
bounded to just one place, you know?
exactly. Yeah.
And there are people that are like that.
Mm.
And for me, I look at it, that's their purpose. Maybe they are serving their purpose in their life. But for me, no, I don't. I don't.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be like, okay, well, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's see what's gonna happen. I'm like a little kid in a candy shop.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
now you as an artist, I mean, that your influences in these, it must have an effect on what you do and how you design your
Oh
clothes.
man, yeah, yeah, and
That you
that's
you
what.
have, yeah. Mm.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
no, no,
Go ahead,
no.
go ahead. No, finish your statement, please. I'm just agreeing with you. Sorry.
Yeah, no. Now I'm thinking about different environments, from Haiti to Brooklyn to, I think without you even realizing that your mind, it does affect how you think, how you see the world, and then also how you design.
Yeah. Um, you know what's interesting, Petra? I did not come to realize I was part of that spectrum of an artist until I was about to graduate college.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, part of that because my parents, or I would say mainly my dad, and it's not his fault. What I'm about to say to you here, I'm not blaming him for what he was thinking of for us, We're talking about somebody that grew up very poor. The infrastructure of Haiti did not give him much. All he saw in his eye was the spirit of lack, the spirit of lack of not so much of education, all kind of atrocities, in whether they were true or false, but they fed into who he was as a person, you know. So for him, I'm the only son and this and that. What else can he think of? How are you gonna survive? So for him, he trying to gear me to become an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, something that will be more safe. You know, uh, not that the others are not safe,
Yeah.
but that's
But
how
I know
this
what
is.
you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he knew that was a safe career, and so on. And I'm saying that because I remember the day I told him no, I'm not interested in medical school. He was like, you're making the biggest mistake in your life. And what he doesn't know is like I did volunteer in a hospital, and I just realized this is not for me. This is not gonna work for me. But eventually I went to school to become a computer engineer. I got my degree in computer science. And another thing happened to me. A group of friends of mine came to visit me in Indiana at the school, and they're looking at me. They're like, "What the heck are you doing to yourself?" I was like, "What? What do you mean?" And they're like, "No, you've been a designer. You're the creative guy. So why are you becoming this? We don't know who this is." So we, shortly after, right, through that meeting, next thing you know, I was planning my very first fashion show.
Really?
It happened that fast. No joke. They came, they came like in a springish kind of thing, right? Like April, yeah, April. And then by the end of the semester of that year, because May will be the my junior year, we were planning a fashion show for July.
Wow.
It happened that fast, literally. April,
Amazing.
May, June, July. And I remember I was in summer school getting extra credit because I want to graduate. I want to get on the road, be a computer engineer, fascinating, full of light. And then those three guys show up at my door like a genie. It's like, no, you're not. And
But
that's how
good that they did. Yeah, good that
yeah.
they did.
Yeah, and that's literally no BS's. That's literally how I became a fashion designer. And one of them told me before we have the fashion show, and I told him I was like, "We are experimenting." He's looking at me. He looked at me dead in the eyes, like, "You're not experimenting. You're a fashion
Yeah.
designer."
Mm.
Case closed.
But how amazing that you got to where you're supposed to be through friends that knew you.
Yeah,
Mm.
and looking back, I never thought of me, but when I look back now, I I was in my element to make me who I am today as a fashion designer. Does that make sense?
I totally
You
understand.
know,
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
was often on all spectrum of artistry. I had them all around me at all time. I grew up with painters, musicians, sculptors, dancers, rappers, you name it, poets. I knew all of them, both in Haiti, in Brooklyn, New York, in Indiana. I know so many of them.
Amazing. But that must have also influenced you, you know, that you um as a creator.
Yeah. Yeah, it gave me something where nowadays I really don't really need to dig deep to find out those resources. You know, I can literally revisit my a certain period of time of my life and engage in that spectrum. You know what I'm saying? So for example, right, if somebody say to me, Bernie, I would like to come up with a streetwear. Why not? Why, Petra? Guess what happened to me? When streetwear was becoming streetwear, that was my neighborhood in Brooklyn.
Oh yeah.
That was the time, the 1980s, 1990s of Brooklyn. That was that specific moment in a lifetime of streetwear. That's where everything kind of like kaboot, because streetwear had to do with hip hop, right? And rap music at the time in Brooklyn was kind of like some of the best geniuses at the time were in Brooklyn, you know. And when you're looking at the demographic of the people that were there, they are all under my nose,
Mm.
you know,
That's
from
amazing.
Biggie
Yeah,
to they were all there. So I really did not have I don't have to do research.
exactly. But
Not only I was wearing them, I was wearing them. I was part of the culture. I knew who were involved,
yeah,
uh, and the dialogue, the community,
mm,
the infrastructure of the culture, the food, everything was right there with me on Flatbush Avenue in Brooklyn. That became the epicenter of it all. Yes,
but how amazing that we just previously talked about your dad, that he took you to Brooklyn, but it seems that you had to be there, that you had to have these influences for you to be the artist that you are today.
absolutely. And as I mentioned, it's not his fault.
Exactly.
You
Mm,
know, it is what it is according to what he knew. And for him, he was not assimilated to the culture of being an American at the same time. He was part of my vehicle to make me understand a couple of things. But at the same time, he was himself trying to survive, something that he
exactly.
didn't know either, you
Mm,
know? So for him to project his fear to me, it's acceptable, you
mm.
know? And looking back, yeah, me and him crashed quite a bit, you know, because uh, only son, I'm an immigrant. I don't know the culture. He doesn't know the culture either. Much younger, much stronger. He was trying to protect me, for me not to get involved in certain things, you know, the typical parents role,
It's
you
yeah.
know.
As parents, we can't always be popular.
Which one?
We can't always be popular as parents. I mean, you're also,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly, exactly. You know, looking back now, I'm like, I'm internally grateful for my time that I spent in those moments in time, you
Mm,
know, whether it was Brooklyn or any part of New York, and the experiences that I had. I'm internally grateful because that's what's serving me right now as an art, as a community of a fashion designer.
mm.
Yes.
But I read also that your grandma was the one that taught you to sew.
Yeah, it's a combination, right?
Mm,
So at the time when I was growing up in Haiti, there was like civil unrest politically, you know, although it was predominantly safe where we were, um, but there were time of turbulence, you know, like what's going on right now in Haiti right now. I lived those lifestyle when I was there for a brief moment of time. You know, so for me, she represent the person that was protecting me from not knowing what's happening outside. So she'll do anything to keep me at a house, you know. So yeah, sewing was part of it, and anything relating to art and conversation, music was to stay in a house because it was really dangerous out there, you know. It was dangerous for young men. Although I wasn't fully mature yet, but you know, and now looking back, yeah, I can see why she had that desire to keep me home, you know. And lucky for me, we were in a safe area at the time. Not too many were lucky, you know. So for us, we were the very few lucky ones.
and then, so sewing, that was what she taught you. Is this where your
As
love?
an escape, I would say an escape.
Okay,
It's to
okay,
escape with the demon that was going on outside of that, you know.
okay.
The reason I say that because I remember one time, uh, a street carnival. It's like band playing on the street, and I wanted to go so badly to go dance outside. She looked at me and was like, "No, you're not." I was like, "I want to see." And so it was a way to keep me to keep me inside and not going anywhere else, because m m my parents were not home. They were in the United States. So my only guardian that I had at the time was my grandparents and my older uncles and an older cousin. They were the one that keeping an eye on me, you
Wow.
know. So you can only imagine what kind of responsibility they felt because
Yeah.
my parents were gone for the first 10 to even 11 years of my life.
Really?
Yeah, that's a
Mm.
long time,
It is a long time.
you
Yeah.
know? And all I had at the time were blur memories of my mom, blur memories of my dad. I never get to know them, of what it was. I never had the experience of a childhood moment with my parents. I don't. I literally don't. I don't know what that's like.
Wow. But
I really don't.
but luckily that your grandparents were loving and caring to keep you.
Yeah. And so with that being said, their number one job was to keep me safe.
Okay.
I'm not sure if love was the number one job,
Oh, I see. Okay.
you know, because I remember my dad used to send messages. It's like, where is he? What is he doing?
Okay.
Is he here? I want to talk to him right now.
Mm.
Things like that. So
Yeah.
I would say, I'm not saying love wasn't there. It was just like, I think being safe became ultimately the prize versus anything else. Everything else was like secondary.
Yeah.
You
But
know.
now fashion, how did you step into, I mean, what was the inspiration to do fashion design?
So right after that, we went to Paris after that fashion show.
Yeah, but I mean, before to as a child, what inspired you to do fashion?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I never thought it was fashion.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
Petra, that's what I'm saying. It was for me, it was just play. I was playing with clothes, I was designing my clothes, I was ripping jeans apart, putting patches here, patching there. For me, that was never fashion. I never look at it as an entity of fashion. That's the funniest part about me. In Even I'm looking at my high school book right now, it's sitting on my shelf right around here. All the text messages that people wrote in my high school yearbook. Let me put it this way, Petra. Everything that everybody wrote, go get them fashion designer. You're such a
Really?
cool. I can read them for you. I will grab it for you in a moment here.
Mm.
But I'm telling you the truth. For me, creatively, I was not in that space. I never look at it as being a fashion designer. My brain was not wired that way in terms of acknowledging that's what I was doing.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense? To me,
Mm.
it was just playtime. It's a playtime. It was a fun time.
But
Okay?
how amazing that so it naturally evolved.
So I'm gonna grab the book. I'm gonna read
Yeah.
it.
Grab
I'm
the
not
book.
like I said, I'm not making up
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah.
So this is my yearbook, right?
Yeah.
This is my high school yearbook,
Mm.
yeah, from Brooklyn, New York. That's the year 1995,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what the year I graduated from Erasmus Hall High School in Brooklyn, New York.
Mm.
But to me, it was like so funny when I read this
Yeah.
after graduating and I became a fashion designer. I'm like, how the heck did they know that? And I did not. And
Yeah.
all the suggestion was like, you go and be a fashion designer.
Yeah.
And I totally missed it.
But amazing that people saw in you what you didn't see.
Yeah. Yeah. Good luck in the future. Sorry for long friend. Best, better. Go get them fashion designer. 1995, right?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Mm.
So so for me, it was not yeah, I was not aware that's what I was doing, literally. I was not.
But at that time, when you did the first fashion show, did you do the sewing yourself? How did you manage your first fashion show?
It was it was a complete disaster.
Oh, okay.
We didn't know what we were doing. We were trying to be cool. I hired some seamstresses. I designed a couple of things, sketches, things. I run to take some sewing classes again because at this time it was no longer hand because what my grandmother taught me was hand stitching.
Oh, okay.
It
Mm.
wasn't sewing stitching. Let me be correct about that. So I didn't know how to do machine sewing. So I quickly go to the neighborhood to find where I could learn how to sew. And then from there, sketching and hire seamstresses. And then got a job and start paying people to do the clothes. That was it. And then we did the fashion show. And when we did the fashion show, everything kind of like went sour very quickly because none of us didn't know what we were doing. And then from there, 9/11 happened, right? You remember that?
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine, one of them, you remember how people used to travel back then,
Mm.
and airfare tickets were extremely cheap.
Yeah.
So, so my friend, you remember I told you that for us, for me in particular, it was when are we going? I didn't.
Yeah.
The mindset of experiencing other places, it was nothing to me, you know? So he was like, let's go. So everybody was scared in the airplane. Guess what? We were like ready to go. So, so I got to London. From London, we went to Paris. And then I remember staring at clothes all the time when I was in Paris. And then one of my friends was like, what are you scared of? And I'm like, what are you talking about? So that's the pep talk. That's somewhat gave me the idea of becoming of who I am today as a fashion designer.
I'm so glad you mentioned that the first one was not a success because you know, sometimes people think it all happened so easy.
Oh
People think,
yeah,
oh yeah, you know, oh, he decided he wanted to be a fashion designer and they did a fashion show and it was all a success and now he's a successful.
Petra,
Yeah,
Petra. It was the worst show on earth.
really.
I'm not trying to. I'm not gonna cover it. I have the tape of it.
Mm.
We did hire a videographer. Even the videographer we got, I'm still like, what did we do? Everything you could have think that could have gone wrong at a fashion show happened in our show. Models, lighting, DJ, MC, ticket selling, venues, no food, no drink, everything you can think of that could have gone wrong went wrong that day.
But yeah, but I mean, you only learn from your mistakes, isn't it? And
Oh yeah,
you have to do these things. And you know, I think sometimes we are we are taught to be scared. You know, we are persuaded that that you shouldn't try and you shouldn't fail. And I think the failure of things is actually the thing that makes you stronger and that makes you want to want to do it right and want to try again.
yeah, absolutely. And And from that experience in Paris, it really gave me a somewhat a blueprint. Does that make sense? You don't know what it is, but you kind of like hunch to something. You don't know what it's gonna look like. You're like, okay, I'm holding on to that dream. This is my future. This is what I would like to do, and this is what I'm gonna be enjoying for the rest of my life. Yeah.
So did you, so would you say Paris was the place where you did most of your, or where you got most of your experience?
I would say Paris became more so the ultimate location of a definition of a word fashion.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's not where I got most of my experiences. Most of my experiences were in the US. And of course, from there, I went to South Africa. I went to South Africa. I was in Zimbabwe. We launched our first manufacturing under the Mugabe.
Really?
It was a disastrous. Um, I remember the embargoes trying to bring clothes to South Africa to say, ship it to the US, and quickly realized that was the worst thing ever because just taking the clothes from Bulawayo to the border of South Africa, the cost of just driving it alone was the cost of what an American could have buy a pair of jeans.
Really?
That's not even the materials, the people you're paying, and all the other shipping from the US, from South Africa to the US. Just the cost, just for driving it from Bulawayo to the border of South Africa in order for us to shipping it because we had a relationship with a posting service at Betbridge, which is a little small town right after
Oh, I
the
know. Yeah, I know that.
yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah,
called Bitbridge, right?
yeah.
And there was a post office there, and then we had a relationship with a family that agreed to go in for us to do the shipping. And of course, we did two shipping. After two shipping, we realized like this is not gonna work.
Okay.
This is not gonna work.
But
But
I
you
love
know,
that you tried.
no, you know what? It taught me so much, and I was hanging out with, the locals, and that's another disaster. We were sewing at such an odd time because of the blackouts.
Oh, yes.
So during the day, sometimes we will have light, sometimes we don't have light. So we had to keep the workers for a week.
Mm.
We have to pay them for a week long work. Why? Because we don't know when the electricity gonna come.
Welcome to Africa.
So,
But
welcome.
are you a good, you must be a good businessman because you explore these things.
Yeah, it was a time of my life I would not trade it for anything.
Mm.
I love the experiences, what I went through, what we were doing during when there's no electricity. Guess what? We drink beer, we hang out with the baboons, we made up stories, we eat porridge, we do all kind of stuff. And
What
then
can
when
you
it
do?
came to
Yeah.
work, we worked as fast as we could
Mm.
because we didn't know when they're gonna cut the electricity. So
Well, you know, the
yeah,
Zimbabweans have a reputation for being very hard workers, very
yeah,
loyal
and
and hard workers.
no, don't get me wrong, we were efficient.
Mm.
Matter of fact, we cut pattern from newspaper. We didn't have any paper. We just took the newspaper, local newspaper. We would just grab them anywhere we can, and we make the pattern out of them. And whenever electricity came on, we were we were savages. We were like getting things done. And we did get things done. It's just we had to adapt to what was going on. But it taught me so much efficiency, time, and management and all that stuff. Yeah.
And the industry, I mean, the fashion industry, and especially in the US, you have to make your mark. And how uh, easy was it for you to do that?
No, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy because part of that you have some bigger brands that are challenging smaller brand. They don't want to see them on the shelves. They don't want to see them in the store. They don't want their PR marketing team that will go after a small guy like me
Really?
and devour us and destroy our reputation and creating all kind of infrastructure to for us not to belong in certain places. Yeah, it's true. I experienced it. Yeah, and I experienced it here in Indiana. I experienced it in New York. I experienced it in California. Everywhere. Yeah, it's not as easy like people like to think it is when it comes to bigger brands interaction with smaller brands. Yeah, it's very true.
And do you have to, I mean, you, of course, it's not just about the clothes, that's one part of it. But now, like you say, you have to get into the market and probably get a team to help you with your marketing and something like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why we have showrooms in New York, showroom in Florida. We work with different PR team in so many different layers. And with fashion, people will say, "Oh, PR." Well, guess what? Fashion with so many layers of PR.
Really?
It's not just one PR group. Like for me, for example, I have about four PR that are catering to different things. They have nothing in common and they don't want to have nothing in common either. They somewhat overlap, but not really. You have people that all they do for me is relationship with celebrities. That's it.
Oh, I see. Is
They
that
they don't want to have
important? Yeah.
yeah, they don't have nothing relationship when it comes to retail, how my clothes look, they could care less. you
Mm.
know. And you have another group where they focus on my retail relationship, what boutiques that they want to focus on and things like that. It's part of a marketing and PR team as well. Okay. And then of course, we have others that focus on the media relationship, press, me doing the podcast with you right now, and so on and so on. So yeah, they somewhat overlap, but not really. But they are different layers of it. Yeah.
And how much of your creativity is still sort of just you, it just what you, how you feel, how you want to do it? Or is that also being sort of led and prescribed what they think you should do?
Yeah. I mean, this could be what I'm about to share with you could be a can be seen as a controversial, right? But I am a firm believer of sphere of influence. There is such thing in art, there is such thing in fashion, and there is such thing in music and so on. Okay. I'm not saying to you that they're absolutely pure creativity. I'm not saying that. But we all somewhat uh in a realm of influence, you know, of counter influencing something. That's what gives birth to something. Does that make sense? So
Absolutely. Mm.
so so with that being said, yes, I might be thinking of something, and then when I'm presenting it to my team of what they know and they are helping me as well to make sense of what I'm thinking, of course, they're gonna have their influence based on where they got the influence from.
I understand what you mean. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, so is it really 100% mine when I put something out there? The answer, truthfully, is no. I'll be quite honest with you. You know, and I come to realize that, guess what? When I was growing up in Haiti, the artists I was around with, I come to realize that their art shape and form was based on the influence of things that were happening around them and the people that they were around with. You know, so it is a mimic of emotion and and things that that are outside of you don't have any control of, that really penetrate the way you articulate certain things.
But isn't it also because I just recently also had a conversation with a dance teacher, and we were talking about this is really business. You know, art is also a business, and that you cannot separate it because it's you have to sell your art, you have to sell your services as an artist as well. So this is what you're saying. So that's part of the business of what you are doing. This is the
So
show business type of thing.
exactly. So I'll
Yeah.
give you a quick example, right? A quick example. I went to West Africa.
Mm.
I'm in the marketplace and I'm searching for African fabric. African fabric. I'm in my zone. I'm in my element. I'm like African fabric, African fabric, African fabric. And come to find out, a lot of the fabric that they have in their market is not really African. What do you do with that? There were a bunch of those fabric actually are Dutch influence fabric that they brought in to sell to to West Africa as a means to commerce that they traded from Indonesia and brought to West Africa to trade with the local to gain their thing. However, I'm saying that there is a true African fabric. There is such a thing. There is. But
I
guess
know.
what?
Yeah.
That fabric and that other fabric, they have nothing in common, right? So when I presented the real African fabric to someone, they look at me like, what the heck is that? Just like I did when I went to the market.
No, but I
So
understand what you mean. Yeah, this is that also those influences.
yeah. So we had a client, and then they're like, "Oh, I want to do a photo shoot in African fabric." And then when the stylist took the clothes from me to took it there, they're like, "I'm not wearing this. This is African fabric." And then we're like, "Yes, it is." They're like, "No, it's not." We're like, "Yes, it is." No, it's not. Eventually, they did. They love it. They're like, "Oh, thank you for the education. Thank you for the for sharing this with me." And now they know. So so yeah. So here I am. I'm a cross between. But the reason I did that, Petra, is because I was willing to explore. But I could tell you honestly, I could say there could have been many people that say no, it's not African fabric, therefore I'm not using it at all.
Yeah.
You know? But I went above and beyond to get myself to understand what it was.
Mm. But is it for you? You said you were daring, and you know you go to places and so on, and also I can think if I listen to you this first fashion show that you did, are you still now daring in what you do? Will you take chances?
Of course. Of course, it's the best part for me. Is I love the spirit of it. Every but in question about it. You know, there's no hesitation for me to look through the mirror and things. I was wondering what's going on behind the mirror. and I have a very inquisitive spirit and mindset for that, and I'm patient. Yeah.
But I looked at your fashion and I look at your clothing ranges, and I think it is distinct. I can see that you have a specific style. But do you think sometimes fashion designers try to be so different that they sort of lose touch with what people are willing to wear?
Well, let me ask you this question. Well, I'm answering your question, but I want to ask you a question by
Yeah.
answering you that question. What is really fashion design,
Mm.
right? So, is it an item to wear? Is it a form of expression? Is it an art piece that you're wearing? So it depends on whom you ask that question, gonna give
I
you a different
understand.
answer.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I've been to places where they just throw a robe on themselves and say, "This is my dress."
Yeah.
Right? And you go another place, they have done so many things to it. And they're like, oh, this is a dress. There's beading, there's stitching, there's this and that, and this is a dress. So it's cultural. Fashion design is cultural. And in my opinion, this is where we as society, we need to open our mind more to understand the rhythm of what fashion is, because it really coming from so many layers. There's no way I can go to another tribe that making clothes out of paper mache and tell them that this is not a dress. I don't live their life. I'm not in their life. I'm not part of their culture. I'm not. Who the heck am I to judge them, to tell them the papier mâché dress is not a dress? Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I understand what you mean.
And we have to come as a society to come to create a level of tolerance, to create our mindset, to explore what are the possibilities of all fashion design, instead of focusing on the bigger brands that they have commercialized the idea of what fashion design is, what a dress should look like, you know,
Yeah.
and and so on and so on. So to me, to respect what you're saying, all of them are dresses. There's no differences for me in respect of that. There's no differences for me. That's the way I see it, at
Mm.
least.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I haven't thought of it that way, but it's true what you're saying.
Because if I
Mm.
go to Japan, if I go to North Korea, and I go to India, and when
Yeah.
I go to North Africa and Central Africa, it's completely different.
Mm.
I remember being in Cape Town, in Johannesburg, and oh man, I used to just devour the way they dress.
Mm.
Because people in Johannesburg dress differently from people in Cape Town.
Mm.
And I could tell when somebody is into different space. I could tell by the way they dress, you know? And then when I'm in West Africa, it's different things. When you East Africa, it's a different fashion. But which one is which? Which one is good? Which one is bad?
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. I haven't thought of it that way.
However, let's put it this way, Petra. What if, because of global warming, we start losing the resources that are making clothes?
Mm.
Then what? What if there's no more cotton?
Yeah.
What if there's no more no more wool. So what are we gonna call clothes then?
Yeah. I hope it doesn't happen in my lifetime because those are two both things that I materials that I love to wear.
Yeah, but I'm just giving you an
Yeah.
example, right? Because of global warming, the climate is
Okay.
changing. Maybe certain plants will no longer grow, quote
Mm.
unquote. You never know. And now the materials that we use to make clothes are no longer all of a sudden no longer available.
Yeah.
So now the fluidity that we experience in different texture of clothes are no longer available.
Mm.
So now what we will call a dress that no longer capable of doing the same thing,
Yeah, exactly.
the same fluidity that we used to have. What we
Mm.
gonna call it then?
Mm.
So
That's
with
true.
that being said, we as society, we have to uh, create a level of tolerance when different designers play with different things, different shapes and forms, and understand where they're coming from in order to serve us as a consumer as well, and why this and how is this and so on. And I'm not saying they're probably doing it for artistic talent, which could be the case, but also it could be part of the experimental of different art shape, and things like that as well.
Good.
In
Yeah.
in case certain thing doesn't become available anymore, then what?
Yeah. And also just to maybe try and see what can this material do, or how can it be shaped or whatever like that.
Yeah. And for me, that's why I'm here. Like when somebody say to me, "Oh, you're not designing American fashion," and I ask them, "What is American fashion? Show
Mhm.
me. Show me what is an American fashion." From the look of it, there is no such thing as one identity that is just American fashion. They all been brought from somewhere else
Exactly.
to the world of what we call America, you know? So if you're saying it is designed by an American, then it becomes an American fashion, then okay, that's fine. I'll accept that. But as far as I'm concerned, none of it is truly American. They all been brought from somewhere else around the globe. The dresses that we're wearing, they're European, from France, from all those places.
Exactly. Yeah. No,
You know,
that's true.
you
Oh.
know, the Chanel dresses, I think that's French.
Mm, definitely. But Bernie, the boy from Haiti, what is the dream? What are still your wishes?
Um, I have a list that I would like to accomplish, and everybody does in whatever career form they are. And fashion is one of a career that it can change overnight.
Really?
Uh, because of politics, it can change overnight due to economics. It can change overnight based on the infrastructure of where you used to make the garments, and so on and so on. So, with that being said, I am in constant evolution of trying to better what we do, you know? So, it's not just one thing that I would say I would like to accomplish. There are many things that are shaped into one, which is to sustain a fashion house, which is multicultural, multi-representation, and also uh, I don't like the fact that to give it a characteristic of a race, you know. I want to be that person that imagine it all and conquer it all, in the rhythm of what fashion is. Instead of putting me in a circular box, saying that, oh, because he's black, then therefore he's a black designer, or he's black American, or he's black Haitian, and things like that. So it's giving me that little space versus I'm beyond that space.
This is so refreshing to
Yeah,
hear.
I want to address everybody. I don't want to be in that little teeny box that of reflecting based the fact that I was born in Haiti. It has nothing to do with my design. It has nothing to do with my design. It's a fraction of my life, and I accept it, and there's nothing I can do about it. I appreciate the experience, I appreciate the lifetime, and I appreciate the culture and how it can serve me now. But it has nothing to do with me on who I want to dress and how I want to sell my clothes and how I can interact with society. Don't limit me.
So it doesn't define you.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's part of it, and I
Mm.
accept it. Yeah, it's
But
fun. I love
this
it.
is so refreshing to hear how you see it. I really admire you for that. And I
Yeah,
think it's true, and I think society has a way of doing it, but great that you are so outspoken about it.
yeah. I,
Mm.
and realistically, once you are in the rhythm of creativity,
Mm.
you're no longer in a space of limit. Creativity is beyond the universe, Petra. It really is. It's a God-given aura. There's nothing else that can represent that. So if that's what you are, then learn to accept that and appreciate that versus you keep limiting it to something that is has nothing to do with what you're seeing. People are limiting art to space, time, location, race, religion, and all that stuff.
That's true. Mm.
And yet again, there's so much out there. And we're looking at it, there's so much influence that come from another influence and another influence, another influence.
Totally. Absolutely. Mm.
When somebody say that, what is Italian art? What made you think it was not Greek art? What is Roman art? What made you think it was not Greek first? And what is Greek first? Well, what made you think it was not Egyptians? And if it was Egyptians, what was before the Egyptians? And so on and so on. So it's a macroism that keep giving and keep creating. So therefore, let's be part of the journey. Stop putting
Exactly.
limit into it.
Mm. And I think it's like you say, it tends to put people in boxes. If you start to define uh, artists and define their work, and rather than seeing it as something that evolves and that grows and that that comes with experiences.
Exactly. Exactly. And the more I think you learn to accept that, I believe that's when your art become eternal,
Mm.
and can really touch anybody else.
Totally, yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
But Bernie, this is so great to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
Such a great surprise. It's so lovely to hear your story and how you grew up, and we have a few things in common, you and I.
Yeah.
The fact that you lived in Zimbabwe and that you had something to do with Africa, but also that we were what do you say, rooted, that
Yeah.
we that we were placed somewhere else to do something else.
Yeah.
Mm.
Where were you were you in South Africa or where?
South Africa, I grew up near Johannesburg, but I also lived near Cape Town.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But I've
Awesome.
been in Zimbabwe because my uncle used to farm in Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so I've been there as well.
Got it.
Beautiful country. And I can,
Beautiful.
yeah, if it wasn't for the load shedding or the power cuts, that I'm sure you could have made a wonderful life there with your
I
design.
know it was an unfortunate time, and I'm not sure what it's like now, but I don't want to say I think I saw the worst of Zimbabwe, but I was literally there during the embargo as well, you
Oh,
know,
okay.
and
Mm,
what a group of resilient people as well to define
beautiful
their own
people.
time.
Mm,
So yeah, yeah.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, they are beautiful people. So, Bernie, have a lovely rest of the day.
Thank you.
And whenever you come to Vienna to do a fashion show, please let me know.
Of course. Now that I know there's a connection in Vienna now, so there you go.
Yes, yes. Come and do a fashion show.
Awesome. Thank you so much.